Welcome to The Stumbling Spirit, contemplations on the path of resilience. Whether you realize it or not, you are resilient. It's your birthright. As you take in your next breath, know this truth. It's not only about your capacity to overcome difficult situations, but it's about your courage to do the necessary work to heal, learn, grow, and move forward. What you gain is invaluable wisdom. And it's through these hard stumbles in life that we often discover a new purpose that aligns with our spirit. My name is Fabio da Silva Fernandez, Reiki Master, Mindfulness Coach, and Mystical Explorer. Join me weekly as the Stumbling Spirit podcast highlights the lives of extraordinary people like you, sharing transformative stories and beneficial practices of resilience to guide you on your wellness journey. Dogs are often called man's best friend, with some archaeological evidence suggesting that domestication goes as far back as 30,000 years. According to Forbes, about 44% of U.S. households have dogs as pets. Website Made in CA says that 35% of Canadian households own dogs, and in Ireland, that number is 27%, based on figures published by Statista from 2022. Not only do these three countries have dog ownership in common, but they also have high rates of dog surrenders, abandonments, and euthanasia, which are taxing shelter systems. The Irish Times reports that the number of dogs put to sleep in Ireland doubled in just 1 year from 2021 to 2022. Helping to save and improve the wellness outcomes of our canine friends is Bobby Wayne, chair of Dundalk Dog Rescue, a not-for-profit community-run organization located in County Louth, Ireland. Here to talk about this and more is my dear old friend, Bobby Wayne. Hi, Bobby. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Hey, Fabio. It's so wonderful to see you. I can't believe I'm chatting to you this way. I haven't seen you in years. It's great to talk to you.
I was reading a CBC article, and it was saying that the spike, at least here in Toronto, is mainly due to the easing of COVID restrictions, whereby people are no longer isolated, they're going back to work, and they can no longer take care of their dogs. Are you finding similar things in Ireland?
Yeah, we have. I think it's a universal problem, especially since the aftermath of COVID, because obviously it was people at home, let's get a puppy, kids wanted it. But of course, going back to work afterwards and the huge difficulties for dogs. We've got COVID dogs now that have huge problems in houses. And so people are giving them up because the dog's making too much noise, because it's got so used to their company during COVID, it's been affected afterwards. One of the biggest problems, and I think internationally one of the biggest problems, is dog ownership. The wrong people. Some of the best volunteers I have in Dundalk Dog Rescue don't have a dog because they know what's involved. They know how much our dogs care and feel and understand. They're a phenomenal part of our mental health, especially people like me or anybody who loves them so much and believes in the pack and believes in having a pack. And hence, I'll always have a pack of dogs living with me in the house or else up in the centre. But it's bad dog ownership is the biggest problem. We don't put enough resources into stopping people who either don't microchip their dogs, don't register their dogs, don't neuter their dogs. It's just very willy-nilly because nothing's enforced. We have no enforcement here, nothing whatsoever. I have never seen one enforcement officer stop anybody on a street and say, can I just check your dog is chipped? And legally, your dog is supposed to be chipped and owned by you. So the onus is put massively on the person who's getting a dog, but they're not told by anybody. Like you can go to a pound in Ireland where we have to, like Dundalk Dog Rescue, anybody, you can surrender your dog to us. Now, we'll always ask people to be patient with us and we'll take it a certain time over the next few weeks when we're ready for it, because our main priority is to empty the pound. We'll take every dog from the pound. You mentioned in your opening that the euthanasia, I call it the kill rate. The kill rate in Ireland increased in 2022. Actually, it has reduced. We've been reducing it massively since 2005. 2005, it was through the roof at the start of the noughties. Like, I would say 1 in 5 dogs were getting out of pounds back then. Now it's the complete opposite. Even pounds have taken on a new persona because I think social media plays a small hand in it as well. Because now pounds are online as well and people are watching what they're doing. So we now know what dogs are going into pounds and we know what dogs are coming out. And if they haven't been directly homed from the pounds, which we don't like them to do anyway, because again, there's nothing done. You could walk up to the pound and knock on the door and you can walk out of it with a dog 5 minutes later after answering a few questions. So you could say anything you want, you know what I mean? And to get a dog. Whereas in our case, we adopt a fantastic system, which we think is amazing, the system in Sweden. Sweden, you cannot just go out and get a dog. You have to register, you have to be involved, you have to wait, you have to be accredited to get a dog. You have to, the registration has to be so up to date. There isn't a dog on a street in Sweden that isn't linked to a family immediately. Nothing here. Like you wouldn't, 95% of the dogs coming into us in Dundalk Dog Rescue have no chip, nothing whatsoever. So it's that part of it. Like we constantly battle government, local and national governments about enforcement. Enforce it. We'll do everything we can, but enforce it. We get no help from government. Per year, we get a small grant of, 20, 22, 23 grand from national government because we're a registered charity. But, we have to do everything to keep informed, to make sure our charity is perfect and untouchable and to keep that small bit of money coming in from government and to keep the government on board with you. But the government as such do nothing. Myself and Jerome, my husband, were involved in raising nearly 700,000 with my fellow volunteers for Dundalk Dog Rescue on a street for 5 years. And we raised nearly 750,000. And this is the love of dogs from our town. They adore dogs in Dundalk and they adore us. They love what we're doing. And we ended up building probably one of the most amazing independent centres run by volunteers in Ireland, apart from Dogs Trust. We're battling everything here in Ireland. We're known as the puppy farm of Europe. It could be down around the corner and you won't even know where they are in your county, and big sheds, and you'll hear them the odd time in there. And literally dogs are just kept in small boxes, pumping out pups left, right and centre. And these places are sanctioned by local and national governments. How in God's name they can be sanctioned? Because there can't be any animal welfare upheld there. They couldn't possibly, because their laws wouldn't work. They'd end up having too much staff there and it would never work. And as we put, like, the amount of money they made through COVID, the amount of pups that were given to people during COVID, and we said, okay, let's show tax returns. But nothing will be done, because these people are party affiliated. It's probably the same thing in the US and in Canada. Isn't that right, Douglas? The same thing in both, and they're looked after. They're party friends. I met the leader of Sinn Féin a couple of years ago, and she was all for a new animal policy and doing it right. But she said, the problem is within her Ardèche, within her party, there are people there who are literally putting their money where their mouth is to either keep doggy farms or to keep greyhound racing or to keep everything that most people don't want, So yeah, it's a battle. It's a continuous battle. If anybody's looking, this is a sighthound. This is one of the most abused dogs in Ireland, the lurcher. And I'm telling you, the lurcher has the most amazing heart. When I was putting his passport together, he's called Douglas Love. And Douglas Love the first in his passport. And there isn't anything more lovable than a lurcher. So if anybody ever gets a chance of getting a sighthound, a greyhound, a lurcher, a whippet, you're laughing.
He's beautiful.
He is an absolute pet. And he knows he is. He's such a wonderful boy.
So I want to talk about responsible dog ownership in a second. Same with Dundalk Dog Rescue. I really want to delve a little bit deeper in terms of the work that you do. But I do want to talk about some other factors that are contributing to people surrendering their dogs, abandoning their dogs. We're in some pretty hard economic times right now. And there was a recent report here that it's quite expensive to buy pet food as well as to afford vet care, right? And we actually have in Canada a veterinary shortage at the moment. So those are factors behind why, in addition to the fact that COVID restrictions have eased. Do you have any comments on these other issues that have emerged right now that are contributing to people surrendering their dogs?
Yeah, the cost implication is huge now. And it's like everything in the world, I'm sure it's the same in Canada, everything's gone up. Pre-COVID, a vet bill here you might go in, you might get a vet appointment, it might be €35 for a simple appointment. That's doubled now. You suddenly realize it as you're paying for it, the difference in the price. But I guess that's the exact same thing in Canada as here in Ireland. But it's gone through the roof. Every single cost of dog food, cost of veterinary bills, cost of dog care, dog grooming. Yeah, everything's gone through the roof. And again, it's like you have to do your homework. You know what I mean? If you're going to get a dog, that goes back to the base problem again. There's no thought in it. It's taught on that gorgeous, cutesy puppy talk. It's like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones has to answer for the influx throughout Europe. I would say throughout the world, but throughout Europe, and I'll talk about Ireland. The amount of husky pups that were literally bought during the early days in the first season of Game of Thrones was just phenomenal. Hence, we've got Husky Rescue Ireland. And it has to be Husky Rescue Ireland. Keep going, has to keep going. One of the biggest dog rescues, because all the affiliates of these type of breeds that were linked to the show, people want as pups. So again, it's that, I don't know, you just want to shake people's head. First of all, if you want to get a dog, I would say, think about it. Think about it. Are you ready for 15 years of your life? Are you ready to have this dog in your house? Are you ready to, we will never rehome to anybody who wants to put a dog outside. We will not have that. The dog is a family member and it's linked to you. And if we ever thought it wasn't being cared for that way, we would take the dog back off you. But like, our returns are nothing. I'd say we're going since 2005, nearly 20 years. I'd say we've got 3 dogs back. And I think we had to intervene and get them back. But that was in 20 years. It's because we do the system. We take on that Swedish system. We vet the family. So when we go out and meet somebody, somebody has put in the petition through us, through the website. They want to either foster, which we think is wonderful. It's become a huge thing since COVID, and people aren't afraid or, oh, no, I couldn't foster because I can't give the dog up. But people have learned it because we've pushed them. We emptied our kennels just before COVID. We hadn't our new kennel centre, new rescue centre built. We're in it now about 14 months. Pre-COVID, we were renting kennels. And unfortunately, us type of volunteers and charities, it's very difficult for us to get rented space. So, we had to take what we got, and we had it for years, and we didn't like it, but we had to put up with it. That was what we rented. We'd access twice a week. COVID hit, and we were told by them that we'd have barely little access through COVID to our dogs. Because of COVID. So we quickly did the biggest thing we've ever done in DDR, apart from building our centre, was we literally rallied everybody, rallied the press, rallied local press, newspapers, TV, radio, and every volunteer we had. And we talked to everyone. We said, we have to get all our dogs out of kennels and get every single one of them into foster. We can't keep them in if this is going to go on. We never knew the COVID was going to go on so long. So thankfully we did this. Within 3 days, we got every single one of our dog. We cancelled our contract with the kennels that our dogs are in. So we didn't have to pay anything while COVID was going on. And we took all our dogs and they all went to foster. And that fostering has now continued. Like our centre is built to take 50 at least dogs in large kennels in our new centre. And presently we have 24 in there because we have the equal amount in foster.
That's really great foresight that you had to find foster families to take care of these dogs when you noticed that COVID was imminent and that everything was going to shut down. Right now, there's a major capacity issue for shelters. And so, the fact that you, through Dundalk Dog Rescue, have a foster system to help these dogs, from staying in kennel for too long is a great thing. But things are down in terms of the number of foster carers that are available, and as well as adoptions. Those rates are down. Donations are down. And this is happening within my community, within the Greater Toronto area. I'm just curious, and you mentioned a little bit about that, in terms of the story of husky adoptions in Ireland and such. How bad is it right now in Ireland or in Europe in terms of the shelter capacity that exists at the moment?
Fabio, it's absolutely dire. I'll be very honest, at our monthly meetings of the 4 directors, the recent ones, we sat in there and the 4 of us smiled at each other. And it's rare we smile and take 5 minutes out of the doom of talk and just smile. Because you know what, Fabio? We know that by building our centre, we've not only made a better place for our dogs, but I didn't realize that I was also building a centre for volunteers. And I was building a centre that was going to change people's idea of it. Like, you'd say everything's down. In our little bubble right now of Dundalk Dog Rescue, we're doing everything right, we're doing everything well. We are out the door. We have volunteers racing, wanting to be involved with us. We have kids wanting to be involved with us. We have the human side is fantastic. The volunteer side is fantastic. And it's a lovely feeling as well, because going up to the centre, as much as you're going up to either scrub out of kennels, bring dogs for walks, in my case, go up and sit in the office and do accounts for a wee while, or take one of the meetings, or to greet people, or I'm up there meeting companies who want to now, because of building the centre, we've got a lot of companies who want to be affiliated with us and want to have our logo on their brand. We won a huge national award for Northeast Ireland. We won top charity in the Northeast of Ireland about 3 months ago at a big award ceremony here in Dundalk. And that was just fantastic to win that. And all that accreditation helps our little bubble. And sometimes we have to live in that bubble, because all I've got to do is pick the phone up to some other rescue places ringing me around the country, and I'm talking to a different world sometimes. And I feel terribly sad. This is within my own country. And people go, God, isn't it horrendous out there? It is horrendous out there. But we, within our little bubble of DDR, for our own sanity and for our own mental health, had to start seeing the rosy side, and had to start seeing the flowers and smell the flowers, because our mood carries on to the dogs within our centre as well. So we're very conscious with our volunteers coming in that the days of coming up being gloomy and having to shake it off you and being good form just to meet and greet the dogs are over, because we're naturally in better form. And the dogs in our system are just much more relaxed and much better. So we're able to do a better job within, even in the kennel system, which is difficult, because they're still keeping dogs in a kennels. They're still walking them. They're going back into kennels. They're being fed. They're going back into kennels, which they don't want to do. They want to be hanging out with you. And we've got an accommodation unit as well. So every dog gets its afternoon with us in the area where they can lie on the sofa and they can just chill out, or we have 3 big runs. They can go out on the runs and play. And there's volunteers, kids that come up and throw balls and play with them and all this kind of stuff. The difference was the centre. As I say, I go back to, we're very lucky that we were able to do that. People contact me around the country, people that probably I thought were more established than us even, who cannot raise funds, who cannot do it. And Bobby, what did you do? I don't know. I said, look, all we did is we just didn't stop. We didn't stop. We lived and breathed it for 5 years. Every weekend, I don't think I took a holiday in those years. We just did everything. And of course, it's all our own money as well. It's down to that. You just literally have to, how much can you give up? And we just knew, as the 4 of us, myself, Anne Moore, Paddy Monaghan and Adele, we just knew we wouldn't stop, and we didn't stop. And our 20 or 30 nucleus of other volunteers who work with us with it, who are just incredible people, just give up their time. And I know we're one of the lucky ones, Fab, and I hear dire stories. And sometimes we actually lately can slightly forget that, because we're not in dire. It's dire, the story, and it's terrible that nothing is happening. And we don't see it correcting. We see it getting worse as it goes on, which is sad. But we have built an amazing centre for us to be able to handle it, because it can really damage it. We've lost people over the years because of sadness, because people find it too hard. They, oh my God, I was up there once and I left and I couldn't. And I get it. Rented kennels for me, I rarely went up there. I did all my work in the offices outside of it and fundraised, and I barely went up to the rented kennels, because the more I went around the dogs themselves back in those days, the more I'd come away and I'd be literally tears down my face. You know what I mean? And I knew it wasn't helping me doing it, as much as I want people to feel that pain and feel what's going on. And because the pain helps you to stay involved and obviously to do what you got to do. But I realized, and like I said, I didn't realize, but I did realize as I was building the rescue centre, and I was on my own during COVID with builders going up and down, barely even seeing my other directors, not seeing other volunteers at all, just build. And I saw what we were building, and I knew what we were doing, and geez, didn't know if we had enough money, and I constantly had to increase the mortgage. And we do. We have a 300,000 mortgage. It costs us $1 million to build our rescue centre. And here's a lovely one. The gorgeous government that we have. Now, this would be probably the same around, and we were told it was an EU directive. And I got every minister to contact me on it, well, the ones who would talk to me. But when we built our rescue centre, revenue in Ireland took 100,000 off us in VAT to build the centre. Crazy. Directly you're the main source of causing the problem, but we're still going to take 100 grand off you. But that's what happens here a lot. When it's an Irish issue that they want to deal with, it's an EU directive, we can't do anything on it. It's an EU tax issue. And I said, yeah. Well, if that's the case, give us a grant.
It sounds like part of your strategy is really the fact that it is homegrown, right? Like this is a homegrown rescue that you're very passionate about. And it sounds like it's because of that passion that you've been able to galvanize a community around your rescue center to help these dogs over the number of years that you've been in operation. I was reading online because I wasn't sure, and I really want to get your thoughts on this, that the difference between a shelter and a rescue is that shelters don't offer a foster program. Are there any other differences between a rescue and a shelter in your view?
We just use the word rescue because I guess we're rescuing dogs and we call it a rescue center. But I think most of the places around the country are called rescue centers, but ours is just a state-of-the-art, wonderfully built, modern, gorgeous center. I think that's the difference. Honestly, I think as well, Fabio, we were very lucky. I think the cost of building post-COVID as well would frighten anybody off. Up around us, we have, we'll say, different organizations, LSPCA, Loud Social Prevention Cruelty to Animals. There's Cork Prevention Cruelty to Animals, Dublin, DSPCA, CSPCA, around the country. My first rescue dog that I got came from LSPCA because there was no Dundalk Dog Rescue at the time. I'm going back 20 years ago. LSPCA, yes, it's funded by, I guess, semi-state body, I guess you might call it. Worse scenario than we are as the main charity voluntary-led group for the town. Certainly in our area, I think we're not a huge town. We're a town of 30,000 people. We're only an hour from Dublin up the motorway. So we have that affinity to Dublin. We're on the East Coast. But I honestly feel the centre itself, what we did with the building of the centre made all the difference. But can people around the country build what we build right now? I would doubt it unless they had a huge benefactor, unless one great benefactor came along. But they're few and far between, We have a wonderful charity in Ireland called My Lovely Horse. And My Lovely Horse was developed on the whole take of Father Ted, the whole Father Ted sitcom, the Irish priests living in the island, like whoever hasn't seen Father Ted hasn't lived. Google Father Ted and go and have that.
I will do that.
The horse side of it in Ireland is appalling. And our government give 80 million to horse racing in Ireland. Like, it's one of the most profitable organizations in our country. They make a fortune. Our billionaires are horse people. And yet we still give them 80 million of our tax money. We give 20 million to greyhound racing in Ireland. Greyhound racing.
Oh my
Nobody
goodness.
goes to it. Nobody goes to them. Empty tracks all over the country. We've one around here built for millions just before the big boom in the noughties. Huge stadium built. And there is nobody at it. There's more people outside protesting at each event than there is going to it. And they're so bad that they start counting their numbers as the people themselves, trainers at it. And yet they're given 18 million a year. We've got Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin in this country, really. Labour Party, but minuscule. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have run Ireland since Britain took the foot off us, so we call it that way. So we have two parties been running our country. And in behind those parties are these people who fund it and give it money and all this kind of stuff to be allowed to do certain things that they're doing that are borderline and grey. And they're allowed. And that's it. They get away with it.
So how long has Dundalk Dog Rescue been around for now?
Anne Moore. Anne set it up in 2005. She's obviously a Dundalk woman all her life. She's a phenomenal animal lover, and she started doing it from her house, and she realized how crazy it was. So she just had to start bringing dogs in. And very quickly after 2005, she set up Dundalk Dog Rescue and just got some people together. Like when they came to me, I joined it about 8-9 years ago, maybe. I had rescued from them, and they had come into me in my shop and my business, and I said, look, I'll do some fundraising for you. When I started, it kicked off an awful lot of fundraising quickly. And within no time, they were asking me about everything. And eventually they pleaded with me would I join the committee and then would I become one of the directors? And I said I would. But I said I would under one condition. I said, the only thing I can do is keep fundraising, keep shouting, keep talking. But I said, we've got to build our own place. I said, I won't stay involved if you don't all agree with that we're going to have to fundraise. I just said, look, that's the only way it can work. And they did. You just go for it. You do whatever you want. And no one's ever told me stop. And they just let me go for it. And so I did. I just put a great team behind me. And we had all sorts of things. Like I had a fellow who climbed Everest for me. and stood up at the top of Everest with Dundalk Dog Rescue banners. You know what I mean? It's just brilliant. And I love things like that, lovely distractions for us to follow. And it doesn't have to be always about, it can fund the rescue, but the joys of how we can fundraise can bring a bit of a light into it to make it fun. Otherwise, it's terrible, because when you think of why we're doing this, it shouldn't have to be done this way. It's so simple to have the system right. But somebody behind here is making a lot of money somewhere. It's not just puppy farms, and it's not just backstreet breeders who are making money, but like they are. We can't get to the bottom of it. You know, the amount of investigative work that even some of my volunteers have done, and it's still hard to get to the bottom of exactly how do we fix it. But so our biggest thing is just what we can fix, at least, is try to get people don't vote for the same parties.
You said earlier that what sets Dundalk Dog Rescue apart is the fact that it's modeled a system after what they've done in Scandinavia in regards to vetting people who want to either foster or get a dog from your rescue, as well as you have other kinds of services that you offer. Can you sort of explain a little bit about what services Dundalk Dog Rescue offers? You touched a little bit about it. And what is it that sets it apart from other rescues or shelters?
Well, I guess I'll answer the second one first. I guess it's because we've built an amazing centre. That's the huge difference now that is helping us. And I guess I have to say it. It's us. It's us, the volunteers. We have all become more motivated. We've become more empowered. Building the centre has more empowered us. The fact that we could raise €1 million. Like, I met President Joe Biden last year when he came to Dundalk, and he sat down with me for 20 minutes. And I pulled him away from the press because he came to visit us because we raised so much money. And the press thought he was walking back on the street and went out a side door. And I put my arm around him. He said to me, "Call me Joe." It was so surreal as it was. You were standing next to the President of the United States, which is very surreal as it is for us boggers from the northeast of Ireland. And I just had to talk to him. I had to bring up about dog rescue. And he told me about his son who died and who got him into dog rescue. And hence all his dogs are rescued now. And so we sat down and talked about it. And he said to me, he believes, like me, that dogs are a huge part of our mental health. Look, as I'm talking to you now, my little girl has come up to me, my newest girl. She's only 10 months old. That touch is important and all that kind of thing. It just makes it all the difference. So the centre made all the difference for us up in Dundalk. The fact that we could raise money, the empowerment of us, the more we were there, the more people wanted to see us, the more we're on our square at a market once on the Friday of every month. And people just come to the chat. I have people who come to me who've rescued a dog before, want to come along, and people love getting the new branded gear. I change the branded gear every year so people can keep buying it every year. It's just being a bit clever. I don't know, what are we doing differently? I think we found our voice a few years ago through the volunteering and through fundraising. The building the centre literally cemented us. Other people coming up to us saying, "Look what you've done. Oh my God." I have people coming from all over the world, can't believe what we've built. I guess in some ways, some of these wonderful volunteers around the country haven't been able to put a right group of people around them. It was very important for us to have the right group around. Like, I think once you're doggy committed, and at that point, it's irrelevant. You know, it's just they have to be a part of your life. We're regulated a certain way. As I say, we can't take a dog from the street. When somebody contacts us online, "Oh, there's a dog running away on the street." Okay, we can do things online, like we set up Lost and Found Dundalk. So we've got separate little things online. We tell people if they see a dog, take a picture, put it up into the Lost and Found Dundalk. We manage that little sub page. We'll keep an eye on it. If a Member of Public finds a dog, sometimes it lives around the corner. You know what I mean? But generally, the only way we can take a dog is direct surrender from an owner. So we have to come in and see their papers as the owner. We can take direct surrender into the centre. Otherwise, we are set up to literally empty the pound. We will make sure there's no dogs in Louth County Pound. And that's it. So we take every dog that isn't collected. When a dog is picked up by the warden, it has to serve 5 days in the pound, which is terribly sad some days. Believe me, we want to take that dog immediately, but they want to do the 5 days, even though we know no one's going to come for it. You know, it's not chipped. It's been wandering the streets for days. No one's going to come for it, but it has to do 5 days with them. Because the minute it comes to us, it's gone. We're the owners. The minute we've signed up, Dundalk Dog Rescue now are the official owners. Doesn't matter if somebody knocks the door, "That was my dog." Well, it's not your dog anymore, and it'll be rehomed. So once we get the dog, we either quickly get it into foster if we don't think kennels will be right for it. And some dogs we just know will not survive in kennels. Be honest, the more scraggy the ones on the streets and the more wrecked and moggies are better in the kennels. They'll take anything as a plush life. And believe me, we've lovely kennels, but it's still kennel life. Whereas some dogs that are being surrendered are so upset, we get them straight into foster with on a 1-to-1 or with 2 or 3 other dogs. We've some fosterers that might have 4 dogs. And we've also got dogs like a long-term fostering that we will never rehome. So we will keep payment always for life, food, veterinary bills, anything with people who want to just foster for life. So they can't afford to own a dog, but they live at home and they haven't got much means. Well, then we'll pay for everything as long as you take the dog. So with that type of fostering, but we have a list in our database of people who want a dog. So they have to fill out a whole questionnaire. We have a page of it. Tell us about your family. Tell us about you. Tell us about your home. Tell us about your lifestyle. Tell us in a brief 1-page thing, not an essay. So we get that and we know we have an idea. So when a dog comes in, they're linked to something. We'll contact them. This dog has come in. Are you interested? At that stage as well, one of our team will vet them. So we'll get around to meeting them in their house. So we spend a half an hour to an hour in their house at some stage before they get a dog. We've met them, sat down in the front room, talked about what their lifestyle is, telling them how we rehome, telling them what we expect from them. This dog is going to be living in the family. His bed is going to be in here. It's not upstairs in your own bed, but at least living inside and having a lovely life, walk twice a day and loved and being a member of the family, vetting the garden, making sure dogs can't get out, that kind of thing. That's really it, really. We don't care how much money you have. It's all about love. And if we see that you're both into loving a dog, great. We've gone to homes and we've sussed fairly quickly that one of the people is being pushed into it. And we've have to say it. We've said, no, we won't do this. As much as you love the dogs, we can see what's going on here. You're being pushed into it. You can't be pushed into it. Everybody has to be on board or you don't get a dog from us. And that's kind of where it is. We have enough people wanting dogs, as in the dogs that everybody wants, of course. Don't get me talking about, I have a certain area in our kennels that we've had dogs for over a year, certain breeds. Nobody will take them. Gorgeous, beautiful dogs, and no one will take them because society has said now that they're the bad dogs. These are the bad dogs this year. These are the bad dogs that year. And it affects everything. So we have dogs that'll sit there for years. And that's an issue that we still don't know how to deal with. We're not going to put them down. But what do we do?
What are you finding are the breeds that people reject?
Staffy, XL Bully, anything with a wide muzzle. 10, 15 years ago, it was German Shepherds, Alsatians, all that kind of thing. Then it went to Dobermans, then it went to Rottweilers, then it went to this. Now it's into XL Bullies, Staffies.
Are they pit bull breeds?
Yeah.
Those ones?
Bull.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Now, of course they're batting. Of course they've bitten people and they've done all such things. But it's because the wrong people have them. Scumbags of this world have decided, I'm going to take a dog like that and I'm going to make him fierce because I'm a small dick and I'm going to act like I think I can do this. You know what I mean? It's that type of shite. You know what I mean? It's the fella rolling down the street in the Ferrari and revving the engine, look at me. It's that horrible human rubbish attitude that a human species have that think that we can do this. I'm going to have a dog my way. I'm going to have this my way. I'm going to have that my way. No. Has to stop.
But what about temperament? Because every single breed has a different temperament. And so how do you navigate that? Because just genetically, some breeds are predisposed to being a little bit more aggressive than others. So how do you deal with that?
We don't. It's terrible. In a perfect world, Fabio, these dogs will die out. The breed will become smaller. Yes, these dogs were bred and changed in their breeding. Become different sizes, smaller, shorter, to get down tunnels, they're used by people for the wrong reasons and trained for that reason. Again, human interference has caused these problems. How do we stop it? I don't know. Anybody who's listening to your podcast today and has love and has respect for dogs and animals in general, we can't think that way. But sadly, I have to put on that cap quite a bit of the times, and I've watched the most horrific cruelty online. I've seen the most disgusting things happen. I've witnessed them going there to take dogs away from people and gone into the worst environments as well. And you go, people let this happen. Some people's lives are absolute shite as well, and they just pour that onto the animal. Let's pour that on. It's this massive human problem that we have. Our self of worth that we can do this, and I want a dog, so I'm going to have a dog and hang the consequences,
You mentioned some cases that you've witnessed. Can you describe what you've seen in terms of the treatment of dogs. What have you seen that you can share in that regard?
Everything from going into places where, you're going to collect a dog and you're going in there thinking you're going to meet a normal, rational couple. Yes, they had to surrender the dog, but you're going in there and the people are either absolutely off their faces. And I'm not just talking about alcohol here. And, you just walk in and just take it and get out of there quickly. So I've had that. I've walked into places and, oh, the dog doesn't like us. I said, oh, where is the dog? Oh, it's out the back in the shed. Oh, it doesn't like us. How long have you had the dog? Oh, it's 5 or 6. Is it, Tom? It's 5 or 6, she asked. 5 or 6. Don't even know what age it is. It's been in the shed for 5 or 6 years. A beautiful little thing. Like, I've got one of my little girls here. Where is she? No, she's not around there. Lily. No, not you, Luna Bell. Not you. That's my little pup.
Oh, so cute.
My Luna Bug. Oh,
what's her name?
Is it Luna?
Luna.
Luna
She's
Bug.
Beautiful.
Oh, she knows it too.
What's her breed?
Her daddy was a full Cavalier, King Charles, and her mummy was a Cavalier Poodle. And I never get a dog like that, but it came to me in an unusual way. This time last year, actually yesterday year, I lost my gorgeous girl, my first rescue. She was 18, and she died yesterday a year ago. And she died in my arms. I took her out of her mummy. She was born in my hands 18 years ago. She died in my arms in an afternoon, which was lovely. And I have her ashes here, which is very important to me. And she's still very much a part of it. And then I thought that was an end of an era because, as I say, none of my dogs are like that, little poochies. None of them. They're all lurchers, three-legged collies, like Douglas here. Douglas has had massive surgery. He has no tear ducts. So he needs ointment in his eyes every single day. But on top of all that, he needed big surgery. So specialized, like you're meeting these deeply specialized vets. Kids in the schools love this. I visit schools on Wednesdays, and that is a dream for me because it's just the beauty and the gorgeousness and the softness. And, oh, what happened to his eye? Why is Boo Boo one eye? Why is Dougie's face like that? Well, Douglas has no tears. Dougie can't cry. And they go, oh, so I have to help him to cry. Oh, how do you help him to cry, Bobby? I said, well, in our mouths, we've got these several glands that make our mouth wet, but you don't need all of them. Do we not? No. So we take one of them from his mouth and we put it up in surgery behind his eye, and it keeps his eye wet. I said, but here's the funny thing. When I give him his dinner, he cries because he has to, because the saliva is now coming out through the eye instead of being in the mouth. And I said, these are the type of surgeries that are needed and different type of care that dogs are needed. Like Douglas would have been put down years ago. No one would have given him the time. All my dogs coming to me, Lily, come here. There's Lily. I'm going to grab Lily for you very quickly. I was telling you about a dog that was in a shed. Look at her.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Lily.
I expected to go out and see a pit bull. I go out and meet this gorgeous little girl who was timid and quiet and wouldn't come near me. I took her straight home and I never brought her to the centre. I said she can live here with my pack because she was so withdrawn. She sat down in the corner. You wouldn't even know she was in the room. It took her a year to bark, a year to feel okay to bark. She's nearly 15. I've had her 4 or 5 years now. I got her when she was 10, but locked in a shed for 5 or 6 years. But life was crazy that way with some dogs. You know what I mean? It's just, how do we fix it? I don't know how we fix it.
So you mentioned Lily there. What other success stories can you share in terms of the dogs that you've brought in to Dundalk Dog Rescue?
To be honest with you, success is every day. We get everyday great success because it's all the exact same thing. A success for us is a rehoming, you know what I mean? Anything that successfully works. You know, when somebody comes out and they go, we like this dog, so we always do it as a trial rehoming. So you take the dog, you see how you get on for a couple of days. You know, if it isn't working, you quickly bring it back. Now, generally, no dog comes back. Now, with that general couple of weeks cycling, yes, sometimes, of course they do. We want to chance it, and it doesn't work very quickly, but we know within 2 or 3 days that it might not be working. But even that's very rare with us. Yeah, the joys of it is every day. Like every day we go. My joy is they come into me at work. They come in for a cup of coffee because every second person coming into my business comes in with a dog for lunch. And so all these little rescues now come back and meet me afterwards with their new owners. They get a bit of chicken under the table while their owners are having a bite, you know. To be honest, the simple joy of it every day is just that. We're not complicated. It's a very simple system. Dogs come in. We very quickly try to get them rehomed with the right people and get them into that home. An awful lot of our dogs can't be rehomed locally, and we can't get homes for. We have great partnerships in, as I say, in Sweden. They come over to us twice a month. It's like the blonde invasion. In comes the van. Blonde girls come out the fucking. Hey, here come the sweets. And in they come with accommodation for them. They could have been around the country collecting other dogs from other rescues up to us. So we have a great association with our Swedish rescuers, and we have a great association in Northern England as well, where a lot of our dogs will go to because the Irish Collie is very popular over there. So we've that association, but obviously the biggest percentage of dogs are rehomed locally, you know. We're now in a phase of encouraging people to get a second dog. Because I firmly believe don't have one, you should have two. You should always have two, but I actually think you should always have three. Because I don't like even numbers. Hence, I have 5 here at the moment. But that's the basic level. Have 3.
You mentioned earlier about responsible dog ownership. I want to unpack that a little bit more. So, what is it that you want people to know in terms of when they're thinking about getting a dog? What are the main things that they should be asking themselves before they get the dog?
The great thing is they don't have to do too much if they rescue. If they go to a good, reputable rescue, and believe me, we have so many in Ireland. But if you go to a reputable rescue and do it right, ask them to vet you. Don't go in there with any, like we got people coming, you know, oh, I want a Labrador. Oh, I want this. Oh, I want a Bichon. I want a Shih Tzu. That's great, lovely, great. But that type of dog mightn't suit you. And you don't realize that. The great thing is by us meeting and vetting, it changes that very quickly because we'll quickly go in and tell them, look, first of all, do you realize this could be 15 years of your life? Are you ready for that? And generally, everybody has done their bit of homework because it is basic homework and they're going to answer me. And I think people who come to us at rescue level have already done a lot of homework and understand how difficult it is and really want to rescue, not to buy money from and give a puppy over a car park and a puppy comes out of a boot of a car from an old granny. Oh, there you go. Sure, your mummy's at home. And they think, yeah, me ask. You know, I mean, here's your money and, you know, I mean, whatever's done. And that's being done still around the country, which is just appalling, like appalling. You have a clue what you're getting and what kind of trouble you could be taking on you. And I'll be honest, I don't feel very sorry for those people anymore. I'm sick of feeling sorry for stupidity. Do your homework. If you want to get a dog, rescue it. Do not buy a dog. You're teaching your child nothing by buying a dog. Look, if I was in a major debate with people here, and it could be a breeder and a panel, look, in a perfect world, yes, dogs have to be bred. I'd love small, independent breeders who allow the dog maybe to have 2 litters in its life or something like that. Something that's done right with a bit of control. I'm all for that because, geez, we have to have dogs, but it's just not being done right. Listen, we tell them 15 years, we'll give you the right dog. The family might not be into any walking. It might be very unfit. It might be all this. And they want a lab. And you go, but the lab is, you know, in your head, a lab is hyper. They're going to need a pile of energy. This family are going to have to get out with this dog and, you know what I mean, and find the walks or else it's going to get scatty. And I know a lot of dogs do get scatty and people let them get scatty and all that, but we want people to do it right. So we talked to them about what's involved over the 15 years. We talked to them about the feeding of them and the cost of feeding of them. Whatever questions are needed are answered. And you come away with a very simple sheet and go, these people would be great with any type of dog, or this family will have to have this type of dog. And we'll know that then going forward when the right dog comes in, or we may have the right dog for them. By the time somebody has a dog from us, it's already been neutered. It's already been microchipped. It's ready for them. It literally just signs over into their name. They're in a database straight away. So little Lily now is linked to Bobby. It's on a database. It's done. My dog, if anybody ever chips her, it's directly linked to me. Done. So coming through a reputable rescue, everything is done for you as long as you're being honest to us, as long as you're being upfront and ready to really take on what you're talking about, you know. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people say, oh, I won't get rescued because you wouldn't know what they're going to be like. Sure, but we've done that vetting. We know what this dog is like before it comes to you. We're not going to put a dog into you. People go into the pound and take a dog away and could have issues. Because the pound don't do any vetting and they barely know this dog that's come into them yesterday and they're giving it to you today. But we know the dog that we're giving it. We know the temperament. We know how it's going to react with you. It's going to be very upset for the first few days. And I say to anybody, it takes 6 months. 6 months for a rescue dog to suddenly look at you and go, I love you. I'm home. I'm with you now. Believe me, it can take 2 days with some dogs, but it can take up to 6 months, you know.
So what about advice to people who are thinking about giving away their dog? These are people that might have gotten dogs during COVID, might have had their dogs for a number of years, but for whatever reason, they're thinking, do you know what? I don't know if I can do this anymore. What advice do you have for them?
I would expect them to go away and have a very long think. I would ask them to think of why they got the dog first. And I would ask them some very difficult questions first, because I don't think it should be made that easy. I don't believe it should be made that easy. You decided when you took the dog. What's changed? What's changed since you took the dog? Look, if you've got to surrender, you got to surrender. And don't get me wrong, there are some of course there are genuines. Geez, there's some terribly sad things. People end up in hospital, people can't mind them, people lose their house, people can't buy their house nowadays, so they're renting everywhere. Landlords don't want dogs, and people are sneaking dogs in, and then they're found out to the dog. Geez, you should have done this beforehand. Oh, I didn't know. And of course, you're getting an awful lot of half truths as well. So you have to, sometimes I just put the blinkers on. Yeah, whatever, just give me the dog and I'll walk away. You know me, I've heard it all before, blah, 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 blah. What do I say to people? I don't say too much really, Fabio, because all I think about, I just look at the dog and say, okay, how can I help this dog? I don't even, whatever words they're saying to me are going in my ear and out the other ear. I've heard it all too many times. If you're going to get a dog, it's 15 years. Don't get a dog otherwise.
Where do you see things going? I mean, what support do you need from government, the public, in terms of how to improve the lives and the wellness of dogs?
Fabio, I think there are some incredible people in this world who are doing, unbelievable work with dogs. We think of a bad here, but at least we're not capturing them and eating them. It's a huge battle. And I honestly don't have the answer for you. As I said to you earlier on, with the bubble that we've built in our centre right now, and keeping us kind of sane, I honestly can't go there with the big questions sometimes because I don't have the answers. It's crazy out there. People just think it's so easy to get a dog, take a dog, bring a dog in. Oh, I don't want it next week. Oh, I'm moving here. Oh, I didn't realize this. Oh, I didn't realize. How do I see it changing? It's going to have to, like everything, it's going to have to come from the top down. We're going to have an international, look, a lot of people have been talking about around the world of the legality. If somebody harms a dog, there are different kind of repercussions for that in different countries. Certainly in Ireland, it's got better over the last 10 or 12, 20 years. But like 20 years ago, if you bait a dog or hit a dog, nothing would happen to you. Nothing. Nowadays, you might get a little rap in the knuckle. You might get a fine. It's getting better. We're trying to look for jail sentence now for animal cruelty. We're barely getting that. It's beginning to happen here. It's better in other countries. We're better in other things here. Other countries are better things. But it has to come from the top down. We have to have a governance. There's a lot of people talking about the idea of dogs especially. I have a huge affinity with dogs, and I know what dogs are doing for my mental health, and I know what dogs are doing for my time on this earth. God knows I've no belief in any form of religion or any crap like that. No disrespect to anybody. I just have no belief in it whatsoever. I believe that there's a massive creator who made us, and whoever made dog spelt it backwards. It's God, D-O-G, or whatever it is. Okay? Something amazing. Believe me. I'm going to wake up out of the coffin and there's going to be God on all fours chatting to me, wagging his tail. And I'm going to go, boy, I knew it was you. You know what I mean? And I'm going to say, what a laugh. Suffer little dogs, come on to me. I'm telling you, there's something about it. But I think that we're going to have to bring dogs especially in as legal companion animals and give them a new legal status. By giving them a legal status, I think what we'll do is, look how many humans are battered by humans in the world and very little happens to them. But at least if you're caught killing a human, you get life in prison or you get something. If we could put more legality on dogs as companion animals and start that status off, of course, non-animal people think this is crazy because where will that stop? Will cattle become companion animals? And possibly, I don't know, probably not my time, but I'd love to see dogs giving some new legal status in companion animals, or you as a human can identify an animal as your companion animal, and that animal gets new rights. Now, I have very strong rights in my house, obviously, if somebody broke in and hurt my dogs. Of course, I had a huge case against somebody. And yes, they would go to prison if they broke into my house and hurt my dogs. But if they hurt my dogs out in the street, it would be less on them. We want whatever it'll take to help governance and help governments and help politicians to wake up to the fact that they're a part of our life and we got to protect them more. But I know that opens up the whole big thing of animals in general. And if dogs come under that brackets of animals, where do we stop? For my case, we don't stop. We can all eat plants. We've learned that now. We can all eat differently. But I believe that anybody who wants to enjoy eating chicken burgers and eating cheap foods, I think we should be bringing every kids into an abattoir. Age 12, every kid should be walked in and showed an abattoir, shown how animals are killed. Let's see what happens afterwards. But you think that's going to happen? No, because the power that be and the money behind the industries will never let that happen, because of course it'll change the industry. The more people who see suffering with dogs want it to change. As I'm getting licked to death here by my patty cakes. This is my two-legged collie, who's a lunatic of the house. Say hello.
So hello. Cute.
Oh, he's a great fella. You're the best boy in the world, aren't you, patty cakes? We have to give more protection to our dogs. I think people have to learn and know that if they go out and hurt a dog, that the penalties are much higher, that you're going to be caught. Social media, I guess, has that one advantage. I'm like, look, listen, I wouldn't have been able to raise a penny if it wasn't social media. I'm very thankful to social media. I'm talking to you today because of social media. Everything has helped. But social media has so much damage as well, so much negativity, so much bad misinformation out there as well that people are getting. But sure, we know that as well in lots of areas of life. But society puts blinkers on us. Our parents put blinkers on us. The minute we're born, we're protected, we're smothered, we're looked after. Don't look at that, that's sad. Don't go at that. Don't go at this. No, show it. Let's see it all. Let's see all the sadness. Show puppy farms. There should be a program done once a week to show what puppy farms are doing. And let's see what happens. But of course it won't be, because they'll shut. Anybody who opens up that side of it will end their industry. And that's the world we live in, you know. I don't know how it'll ever change. I won't be able to change it. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. But there are millions of people like me out there, Fab. I follow some amazing people around the world who literally have dedicated their lives and literally see nobody bar their 30 dogs around them, you know. Like people who live in small holdings and barely see people bar once a month to go and get food. And I kind of get that. I'd be a bit of that myself. I live up here in the mountain and I can't wait to get home from work, purely for the dogs, just to get home and for the meet and greet with my dogs and whatever at home and getting out and going for a walk. And it's just something about that. And, you know, and I do. I spend half my day talking to them as well. So I think sometimes I get better answers back from them than I do from the general public. You know? But, and I'm convinced. I'm in the middle of dabbling on writing a book that I'd love to put into an animated story and make an animated film out. And it's a combined story of different dogs I've had over the years. And
that's beautiful. Once you've written it, you let me know. I'd love to read it. I want to get your thoughts on, what does resilience mean to you?
As a young kid, my auntie had a pile of dogs in her house, and I went, my gosh, I just love going up there and being around her with all the dogs in the house, thinking it was great. But her life was just smothered with dogs and dogs and dogs and dogs, never knowing that we're all like that. I came from a family of loving dogs. My mother loved her dogs, my father loved dogs, my mother loved cats. So it was naturally in me to love them and eventually being able to have them myself and being around them. I don't know where the resilience come into it, but for me, it's just, I don't know. I'm very lucky. I happen to be somebody whose glass is half full. I'm very positive even on a negative day. As much as I can see terrible sadness very quickly, I can reach in my head and find something that's very joyful. And I'll smother that horrible thought with it and push it out of my head, because it doesn't do me any good to have them. And I get no work done when I'm very upset and knee deep and sad about something, which I get quite a lot. It really gets me down. But I'm very lucky. I guess the whole thing about Dundalk Dog Rescue for us is the group that we are. We've been very lucky with the right people that we have on board as the main characters, because we're able to, I think, hold that together and be strong. And yes, the resilience comes into it, but I think we're just the type of people that we are. We don't dwell in it. There's just too much to go on every day to be over dwelling, you know. Every day there's something happening. There's more dogs coming in, more dogs going out. So we just don't stop. You asked me around how things are getting worse. We don't see how things are getting worse, getting bad. All we know is our level of people who want to surrender is still the same amount. The amount of dogs coming into the pound is the same amount. As I say to you, by building the centre as well, we were able to kind of form ourselves around it and kind of protect ourselves as well. Because, as I say, our mental health amongst us as volunteers is important, you know. So we're very protective of each other. If we didn't have that care and empathy amongst us, none of this would be done. You know, as long as we keep doing the right thing, we, at the end of every day, we're able to put a smile on our face. Even when we walk away from the centre and lock it up at night, we're able to kind of have a smile, because we know, you know, We've done everything we can for the dogs that day. We've done everything for the people applying online. We're doing it as volunteers, and we will keep doing it as volunteers because we love it so much, Not that we love the problems that we're in, but we love dogs so much. We want to see them in great homes. There is nothing better than seeing the before picture of a dog coming into us and seeing that dog a month after it's settled in its new home. There's no comparison seeing a lockdown dog compared to a dog with full expression. It is chalk and cheese. Look, I do see things getting better. I do, because I have to have hope. I have to have hope in the children I'm talking to on Wednesdays. I'm terrified about what the world is going to be as far as kids living in it. But I do think that the dog's world is going to get better. We are learning how important dogs are to us. And I think our voices are getting stronger. Unfortunately, it has to affect how we vote. We have to change the people in the system so they can make changes for us. Oh, I don't know, Fabio.
That was a good answer. That was a really good answer. So let me ask you, you shared your thoughts on what resilience means to you from your standpoint as a human. And I'm curious about how do you see your dog's resilience to be able to overcome the circumstances that they've been able to overcome?
Oh, no. They have it easy. They're grand. Believe me, unless a dog comes in, look, we get dogs in that we know it hasn't just been, neglect. So we can spot the difference straight away. Neglect, we can handle. Neglect is something that we can love that out of them fairly quickly. We can take neglect. Abuse, hitting, that's difficult. Because a couple of dogs up in the kennels will still bark at me, purely because I've got facial hair. And that's we've realized certain things are. If it's any type of physical abuse that it's had, it takes a long while. So I guess it's just down to that. But believe me, Fab, it's just amazing what you can do with a dog with the right people. Any dog will come back for the right person. It's love and respect. Hugs and kisses, love and respect. Here's your dinner, come up and have a cuddle. Who doesn't need a cuddle? A big hug and a cuddle will bring any dog back. But unfortunately, they don't all get that. Recently, we had a rare thing, and it became a huge press thing, a dog being tied to our gate. Now, the particular dog that was tied to our gate was a dog that could be rehomed very quickly. And my phone didn't stop for the week. My emails didn't stop for the week from different radio stations around the country, this and that. And I eventually said, lads, look, I'm going to tell you straight, let's not talk about this dog at all. I said, he's fine. That dog won't know that it was tied to the gate and put through an overnight. All that dog's horrible days are over. It's laughing now. It's in fostering, being treated like a lord. I have lists the length of my arm of people who want to home it. And now I can show pictures of it in its home. It's a different dog. It's having a wonderful life. I said, but I'll march you right down to my kennels and I'll bring you up into my kennels and I'll show you 6 dogs that have been in the kennels, locked in here for over a year. Beautiful dogs, but I can't get them at home because society have said that they're not the right dogs that people want anymore. Whereas a coochie, nice fluffy dog was tied to the gate and it became national press. But people don't realize, okay, it was terribly sad. I said, yeah, it took a scumbag to tie the dog to the gate. But this person at least didn't dump them on the road. So what's so crazy about that? I don't want it. I don't want to come to our gate in the morning and see a dog tied there. I don't want our volunteers appearing and seeing a dog tied to our gate. Of course I don't. But at least somebody got him to our gate. And this dog doesn't know the difference. Has a most wonderful home. I'm constantly changing the narrative when people interview. It's not going to get us anywhere. You know what I mean? Well, the great thing is the minute the dog comes in the door of Dundalk Dog Rescue, it's the life of Riley. It's wonderful. They've landed on their laps coming in the door to Good Rescues. Not just Dundalk Dog Rescue. If they come into any reputable rescue, they're home. They're safe because they're guaranteed wonderful homes. As I say, if I can encourage anybody listening, if they're ever going to get a dog, go through rescue because you're not only helping a local rescue that is helping dogs. The minute you go to a rescue, you're showing your love for dogs. This is 2024. You never buy a dog. You're feeding the industry. I don't give a damn what they say to me. Get a rescue dog. There are beautiful breeds in rescues all over the country. If you particularly want a certain type of dog, you'll get it in rescue. You mightn't get it from us. We mightn't have that dog in there. But if you register with several rescues, you'll find the dog you want and you'll get it. At least the dog will be saved through rescue coming to you. Wonderful. But you're also getting a dog that is chipped, that is vet checked, that is ready for life. It knows what feeding is. It's generally house trained, all done. It's ready just to go for walks and to live the life with you. It's a no-brainer. only way to go is rescue. Only way to go.
Do you have any practices of resilience? You mentioned that you tend to look at the glass half full. You have a very positive outlook in life. Is there anything that you do in your life to sort of help you be resilient?
Being honest, I guess my life, Fabio, is the dogs, There's such a huge part of my life, not just my life home here, my friends' lives. All my socializing is linked around dogs. And are the dogs coming with us tonight? Am I going away? Are we going in a camper van? Are we doing this? Are we that? The dogs coming with us. The dogs, yeah. The dogs do it all for me. It's half full because of them. It's not because of humans. It's not because of... So I guess my side of it is at least I'm covered by the dogs, They keep me kind of happy, keep me whatever, keep me content, Fab, I've no kids, so it's very easy for me to put all my energy into the dogs. And you, Seamus. I'm talking to Seamus, the cat there in the corner.
How can people reach you if they want to contact you?
DundalkDogRescue.ie. So, yeah, it's Dundalk Dog Rescue. We're very big on Facebook. We have a strong presence online.
Are you able to receive international donations?
Yep. I think as far as donating to us, it's very easy. I've never had an issue. Somebody saying to me they couldn't donate,
Well, Bobby, thank you so much for sharing your insights, your wisdom on this topic, your passion for dogs. And I'm really excited to hear more news about Dundalk Dog Rescue in the future. And I want to hear about your book as well.
Oh, Dad, I think the book will have to come when I slow down with work. And I'd love to do it. What do you think, Douglas? Yeah, you're going to help me, are you? He is the best boy, aren't you? Thank you so much for listening to me from Dundalk.
Thank you for listening to The Stumbling Spirit, Contemplations on the Path of Resilience. This is Fabio da Silva Fernandez. Join me again next week for another episode of transformative stories and beneficial practices to guide you on your wellness journey. If you wish, you can follow and DM me on Instagram at The Stumbling Spirit. Until next time, take a deep breath and another step forward on your path of resilience.